Hi, y'all. I'm not here to talk about cooking and whatnot. Even though I organized my food today, and I'm trying to get ready for this camp thing because I might have to care for because about coming to camp and on the Sabbath and everything. It's about resting and thanking God for your food and praising God for everything that you ever had. Your rest. And I'm gonna show my bedroom, yeah, because that's where I rest and where I sit and where I'm doing my thing. But you're gonna watch my video about education. So please like and subscribe. But yes, please watch this and listen why. Hi, everybody. So they were right about climate change because of transportation costs to an extent where the people had they had to fire people because of in the union because of transportation costs and how it affect community guidelines and people who drive in the late hours and get in trouble and in the freeways and byways because of the climate costs, and you have to clean up that mess when people get in car accidents, and it's just more accidents ever since 9/11, and that has been happening for years. But now we're at the time of education costs. What does education cost? Because transportation costs since the beginning of all this mess since 2001. Since 2001, because of TSA and because of 2004 as well, because of people traveling and whatnot, trying to get away from Hurricane Katrina. That hurricanes and such, and even tornadoes and and yeah, and storms and such. Okay, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about education costs, and then and then yeah, because education has been causing problems for a long time, and here we are where it's going to get back to talking about war, civil war, and because it did happen in this country, and it was talking about the education rights of America. Here's where diversity DEI did wrong. They put personal business in the hands of other people, and that's where matters have cost people's freedom. And that's where we have to be understanding why people say certain public schools are not going to accept some things that are affiliated with church standards, because it puts personal business out there, and such as women who have been in relationships with man, in relations, or how many, and that's a sensitive topic, because if they're going to say, if he did that, he's my fourth ancestor, my you can't accept it. That's something that just that's there's just because these royalties, it was because of their line that we get what we get today, because of the royal and the royal family. They don't want no kings. That's what they told Trump in the White House and everything. Now, even though we know that, because they went to South America, most of them are in South. Most of the kings have fled of of what happened in East, in all the other places, because of what happened in slave trade. But we got to think of the future here, because DEI is gonna. They already cut it, and they already know this, because personal business matters. If they are saying Black Lives Matter, they're gonna say personal business matters, and it does. And now that I'm starting to see their point of view, it's as if we knew this was going to happen, but it's also because they're not going to want to keep the Sabbath, and because they're going to want to keep Sunday. And I understand why some churches in the Reformation were thinking that, because they think that it's a sin of what has happened to the women, or because of what they're doing, and they're making sport of being, because of what they can do. It's making it worse for men, for mankind, all mankind, because now they have education rights to put personal business matters to the side. No, you have to talk about people's personal business matters if you have careers. And that's why people are getting fired left and right, because it's about taking responsibility for your actions, because you have a result. You have people's lives in your hand. Okay, so it's making people anger fume go fuse out. But that fuse is going to go out, And then when that anger fuse is going to go out, then actions are going to start happening. And it's going to be mass hysteria. Not that it isn't already, but what what they call in the war in Middle East, and they have things to clean up, persecution. You're talking about people who want to fight for their food. That's I'm just being for real. I had this kind. I texted my a friend of mine, Matthew G. Williams. Hi, Matthew. Say hi. And I was talking about this with other people. About my situation with transportation, and I was telling my friend. I was talking with my mom too about the situation. Like how I see about transportation costs and everything, because cars do belong to us, but we have to understand the organization of everything. It's just, while things are becoming in place, while there is good things happening, there's also bad things, because there's an outcome, because what goes up must come down, and sometimes what we thought was good is going to come down, and it's going to be bad, because people have made mistakes. People had to see things the way they see it, and come to find out, some of those things are not as good. So what you have to do is organize it with the past and where those locations were and what happened in those locations. And you have to consider the truth. You can't deny people's testimony. So when they have transportation problems, there's also education problems. And then next is going to be communication problems. So that is widely accepted, because not everybody is going to accept the fact. Well, actually, communication problems had already started. That was a long time ago, because people didn't know how to communicate, and people had to learn their language, or who they were talking to. That was a long time ago. Education, it kind of was a long time ago too, but it's brought back up, because now they're talking about how to educate the people on the fact that there are people who don't have a sense of time yet in certain places. But not that they don't know, but they keep denying, because we all follow one Gregorian calendar. We follow the Julian Gregorian calendar on everybody's calendar. Think about it. And they're talking about climate change. They're talking about climate change. Yeah, okay. But we have to remember the seasons. Seasons are not affected by climate change. They're affected by times. Not just the climate change, and things are changing. Things are not going to always be the same. Okay, they're always talking about this and that and all of that, when really we're all the children of the future. They're all talking about the children. Yeah, what about yourselves? Your individual selves, because they're watching you. Those you have nothing to hide at this point. Communication. Okay, their communication, they're always talking about hate speech and everything, because it's not, for them, they are saying it's about education. It ain't about education. For them, it's about communication, because it's about who they're talking to, and they want to block pastors and people from talking to the very people that they're trying to get to, because they have a problem now. Hold on now. They have a problem with the truth. They think it's hate speech. No, because that's what they witnessed. That's what happened. You're talking about people from many years, decades ago, who knew this already, but they're not communicating it to the people who need to know about personal business and matters. You want to talk about things that went wrong all the time, but you're not willing to focus on the fact that some women can't, talk to them, because there was abuse, and there's verbal abuse, and there's combat, and there's just, things won't end correctly. They won't end with better results, because they're waiting for you, and while they're waiting for you, you're not able to, and that fires up anger in people who don't listen. So what's going to happen? They shut down everything. They're going to fire people because we can't communicate. Of course they can't communicate. If they can't communicate, then you can't educate. If you can't educate, how are you going to get things moving? You get what I'm saying? So it affected everything. That's why it all started with you, because there was divorce. There was relationship problems. And when they put gay marriage in the White House, they're saying like, we don't want to talk no more to one another the way we used to Christians. It was about Christians. And okay, you have Catholics, yeah, but Christians, they're more in danger, okay? And Adventists, I'm sorry, but this is the problem that people have with education, communication, transportation. Even though that's what gets food, shelter, clothing, and water around, those four things, which affects our music, time, and relationships. And that's what's coming out in music today, in entertainment. Music, celebrations, entertainment, music, time, and relationships. It is in entertainment, okay? And what we think is entertaining, okay? Because we like to entertain the thought. Don't go into that path. That and what they think is okay in the eyes of people is really not good in the eyes of God. And for your own well-being, for your children, because they're going to see this and they're going to be like, this is a problem. People will not care. And that's what's going to, and if they don't care about this, about the time they're using for only themselves, for their own lives, they're going to spike up crime, and they're going to spike up medicinal problems because, and food costs and water issues, because people are getting sick and they're dying. So what's going to be the cost is people are not going to want to, and children, because abortion is going to be high. A woman just threw her baby in the trash because she knew she can't take care of it. She humbled herself and said, I can't take care of this child. And it's the same thing for any woman. You're lucky if you don't get pregnant, okay? I'm speaking for myself too, because I'm talking about I'm going to have a child named Elijah, Ethiopian in Egypt. That might sound like somebody else's plan, but that don't mean that's going to happen. That don't mean that's going to happen. And that guy might fall out in love with you and fall in love with someone else. And you going to be homeless and ain't going to have nothing. That's putting relationships in an emergency. This ain't got nothing to do with what you want. It's about what you need, because your relationship is going to be in trouble. Now, I hope to God that that's not the case, but I don't know, because money is the problem, and you're going to be starving, and then it's going to be transportation problems. Don't be acting like you're going to have this. It's shutting down faster than quicker than in a quiffle. We don't even know this. I be thinking I know what's going on, but honestly, I really don't. People talking about it might have something, a spiritual thing, a religious thing, a crisis, but that don't mean people don't know it. People run to and fro for knowledge. It don't mean that you have to just look out for the things that you have or the people that are there in your corner. It means you need to look at the bigger picture. That's what that means. So until you look at the bigger picture, then you gonna know what's going down, because they don't know half of the problems that had happened because of all this mess. They not gonna know nothing. And that's the problem. And I'm sorry, y'all, if y'all got this late, or if I had to learn. Hold on one second. Anyway, as I was saying, there are people who got to be careful, because it ain't a secret no more. People got to have the reality of what change means. They need to know the reality of what change is, okay? That means before things get better, it gets worse. That don't mean God doesn't have a plan and that God don't understand. God holds all wisdom for us we need. Okay? That's a little song that I feel it was spiritual, and I feel like somebody had prayed that I might understand this. It's more than just a song or something that we have for liberties. Libraries, that's where they put their liberties in to learn and whatever they want to learn. And people got to realize now, hold on now, because there was a cost of freedom. And you got to realize that liberty of conscience is threatened. So when we think of these things, we have to be grateful for the people who in the past did all that work just before we got to this time, so it can clock in. It's not, because some people, it's just not clocking for them. It's not clocking for them. Like people, like celebrities who be saying it's not clocking to you yet. Yeah, it's really not clocking to them yet. And and you need to wake up. They talk about wokeism, but it's not clocking to them yet. When are you gonna realize time is ticking? Time is ticking. You got to, like, I got my alarm clock right here. Okay, my clock right here. Time is ticking. It don't mean that you can't have this. Like, these kids, I'm sorry, I love y'all, but Gen Z, y'all got a lot of mess, man. And I thought millennials was messy. Well, we was messy, and we messed up. And our generation was worse and messed up y'all's. But before it gets better, that don't mean it's not getting better. If it's worse for us, it ain't getting better for y'all. And I'm sorry to say this, and that's gonna put a tip of tantrum on a lot of y'all. I saw some of what's happening in some parts of people's destined territories, and these colleges and universities, boy, they be protesting, man. They angry. And I'm sorry that my generation didn't wake our tails up sooner. But we woke. We woke. We just quiet a little bit. But I mean, we ain't that quiet, but we quiet. We comment on what we gotta comment. Just because our generation did what it, I don't mean we have to stop working. We got to work. And we be trying to tell y'all got to do the same thing. But like, I don't want to get in trouble with Greta Thunberg, because I said that last time when I was trying to pick up trash. And I'm going to post when I got to. But that's just the problem that people be having. You have got to know that. Come on, man. You got to know that. Because people are not, yeah, that's my wig back there. People are not going to take consideration of what you have going on. People trying to do all type of damage and whatnot, like they know what they talking about. I know, because I got a mind. I got a filter now. Almost my filter is developing. My mom's filter already developed. Okay, long time. She been using it by God's grace. Okay, my mama, she got the faith that I ain't even never seen. She would say, we going out in this storm, whether it's crazy or not. I got to go. She be getting up. My parents, when we gotta go, we gotta go. That's by she got that Harriet Tubman, whose name was Minty Ross. We was related somehow, because somebody did something. The worlds are all related. Okay, we all cousins. But when it comes to sin, we not a family. And that's what happened, degenerated the family and got disease and got people fighting. It started with rivalry, because of sibling rivalry, and it started with that because something happened. You got generations to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. That's what the Lord said in the 10 Commandments. It also said that there would be people running, that there would be people getting in arguments and fights and wars and rumors of wars and stuff. Look, that don't mean you gotta act the fool. You need to sit down and read your word. You need to, hold on. You need to read the Bible, okay? Now, I'm not trying to say all that. Hold on. I'm not trying to say all that all on here, because I know y'all got situations. Yes, I'm wearing my strawberry shortcake shirt. I know y'all noticed it, because this is not just, I'm just celebrating that it's autumn and people picking and harvesting. The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. It's about the testimony going reached out to the people. People need to teach, preach, teach, and baptize. That's just how it is. It's so many of us, and because people got to do more and more. People got to work everything, and it's crazy, because it's sad that people can't even take their time, and you can't take your time. Time is running out, so you need to decide what you're gonna do, because the Lord is moving. He's moving. If he's working, you need to work. The devil too he decided a long time ago what he gonna do. You need to decide what you gonna do when time gone. I'm drinking my water. I'm gonna tell you why. Because people will not take the time to say thank you. People will not take the time to look over you. You just need to come show yourself ready and through with the program. You need to be through and you need to know the program. Get on the right path to glory. You ain't got nothing but to lose your soul. That will be the problem. Okay? Okay? Can I get an amen? Because not everybody is on track. You need to know for yourself, my brother, my sister, that you don't have it put together without the facts. Shine a light on the facts, people. That's all I got to say. All right, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe. I hope you guys are okay and you do whatever you got to do that's going to keep you informed. Do your research. You know how it is. You know how I am, because I need you to be on point. I need to see you square on. No, I was kidding. That's somebody else's line. Thank you, y'all. Bye.